Hey everyone, it's Martin Johnson, author of the Atheist Survival Guide. I've been giving some thought about just my life in general, and I've been incredibly lucky. I've never really been exposed to tremendous amounts of oppression. Like anybody, I've been bullied at times. I've had people who didn't like me, but I've really never experienced a huge amount of oppression, even as an atheist. I'm a hetero white male uh, in a country that's controlled by hetero white males. So even in the case of, say, Christian nationalism descending on the U.S., I have a huge amount of luxury. I came to atheism, well, if not by choice, I at least chose not to ever become religious. But because it's a choice, I have a choice to fight or hide in the case of, again, being placed under risk, under a hostile government. Um, but if I were, say, a member of the LGBTQ community, a minority, a woman, and so on, I wouldn't necessarily be so lucky. You know, uh, it's often assumed that, hey, atheism is mostly a bastion of white men. And statistically, it is true that white men have, typically adopted the atheist moniker a lot more readily than other groups that, don't necessarily want to take on, another opportunity for people to, oppress and hate them. But obviously, there are a lot of people that are members of minority communities, LGBT community, that are atheists themselves and could potentially experience a tremendous amount of oppression without having the luxury of crawling off and hiding themselves from oppression. And not even just people that are, say, members of these other groups that are intersectional with the atheist community, but also just in general. You think about a lot of oppressed groups, at least as far as, say, religious radicals are concerned. They're as guilty of being, evil followers of the devil, however they, kind of perceive us, as we are. They're almost what you consider pseudo-atheists or atheist adjacent, in that, they can, be pilloried for being non-religious or anti-religious, even when they're not. So, it's natural, or should be natural, for us atheists in general to embrace a lot of these groups that would be, normally targets of oppression. Again, in times of Christian nationalism or religio nationalism globally descending, and just in terms of sheer numbers, the protection in numbers. But you also have to think about the fact that, I stand to learn a lot from, others that, again, who haven't been so sheltered from oppression. Again, if you look at somebody who's had to live their entire lives, uh, as an out LGBT person or LGBTQ person or a member of a minority, no matter how, no matter where you live, even in California and places where we typically think that, oh, we don't have oppression here. Of course we do. They've had to experience it, and not just experience it, but fight back or protect themselves, or, at least tolerate and have have a thick skin when it comes to being pushed around and abused. The reason why I bring this up is that, again, people like me can learn quite a bit from those who have experienced oppression, bigotry, and bias. Um, if I really want to, fight back and survive, a hostile government or a hostile environment, I need to know my enemy. And really, yeah, sure, I've lived my life in a predominantly Christian country, but that really doesn't give me complete insight into the motivations and the potential animosity and hatred that one person can, feel or show towards another person, sheerly based on either their physical characteristics or their ideological characteristics. Yeah, sure, I'm, historian, and like anybody else, I've read a lot, I've seen a lot, but it's one thing to understand things from a theoretical standpoint. It's a completely another thing to understand it through direct experience. So I guess what I really want to kind of emphasize to everybody is that, again, in times of great challenge, like we're going through right now, it is really imperative for us to kind of look beyond just our narrow self-interests towards those who, maybe potentially experiencing oppression as well, and then some, in many cases, double oppression. To work with them, both in terms of mutual support and defense, but also in terms of, our kind of overall growth and understanding of oppression in general. And what's the harm in doing that? Say that we eventually, stave off Christian nationalism, say during the next election. Great for us, but we still should be understanding and educating ourselves to all possibilities, because you never know. 5 years from now, 10 years from now, who knows what's going to happen? Environmental degradation, economic downturns, natural disasters. All of those things can easily and quickly trigger people to get scared, look for a scapegoat, look for authoritarian, leaders to reestablish, some semblance of order, some semblance of, tradition that people can recognize and understand. And it's at times like that where, we need as much ammunition, that is knowledge, at our fingertips as possible. So again, that's it. That's it in a nutshell. As always, feel free to drop me a line, and we can discuss this, one-on-one together. Thanks a lot, and take care. Bye.